Welcome to our new ABBA magazine show. Almost all the home teams won in front of their own crowd in the 6th round, with the exception of maybe the one team which was least expected to lose, Krka from Novo Mesto. Also, we were checking the atmosphere within the IGOKEA camp, and of course, in the end, the best 5 actions of the round. There's a new change in the team from Aleksandrovac. After parting ways with Michael Fraser and Kedrick Mays, IGOKEA's coach Dragan Bajic also let Nikola Gacesha and Ramon Galloway go. In their place, a new American player arrived, a 33-year-old Sergio Teddy Gibson, who played for Limoges before arriving, and last year in Germany for Brose Basket. So we begin our highlights in Szolnok. As always, a full house there, where the home team wished to end the curse of Radnički, who had last year beaten them on both occasions in the league. David Vojvoda was the first to break the deadlock, while Radnički did take a little longer to score from open play. The first 4 points for the visitors being scored from the free throw line before Marko Marinovic scored from open play. He was the best scorer of the night with 20. When DJ Seeley hit for 3 and he was fouled, Radnički was leading by 6. Then a good run from the home team, which saw them equal the score to 15. But that was followed by a 7-0 partial from Radnički, 22-15 after Sava Lesic hit for 3. It was 26-21 after the first quarter for Radnički. The visitors were again leading for 7 when Muftau Yaru scored early in the second period. But then Szolnok did spring to life and put together an 11-0 run, rounded out by Tomislav Ivosho from behind the three-point line to make it 34-30. The lead was again shifted after Jovic's 3, but Szolnok was in front for 3 after the first 20 minutes of play, with last points of the half scored by Willie Warren. The second half began with Sava Lesic succeeding in catching the hosts, who then in turn took the initiative and scored the next 8. Here's Warren for 3 to make it 57-49. Reply at the other end through Nikola Kalinic, whose three-pointer closed the gap to 5 points, but that was followed by a 13-6 partial from the home team, which managed to build a nice-looking lead till the end of the third quarter, which was rounded up by another Warren's three-pointer. He was simply unstoppable in that period. The Hungarian outfit was leading by 15 by the time Rakic scored for 3. 4 minutes before the end, Akos Horvat made it 12 points to the good, and it all seemed to be over for the Muta Nikolić's boys, but they refused to surrender, and with a 7-0 partial they did get back in the game when DJ Seeley scored. But Szolnok did have a certain Willie Warren in its ranks. He was really unstoppable on the night, as he scored 9 of Szolnok's 12 final points, and by that deciding the game. A third win for Szolnok and a third defeat for the team from Kragujevac. The Bosnia and Herzegovina champion IGOKEA hosted the only team still without a win, Union Olimpija, albeit with 2 successes in the Eurocup, where it has lastly beaten Valencia. The first 5 points of the game were scored by Olimpija's captain Dragiša Drobnjak, and for the home team it was Branko Jorovic, who also scored for the first IGOKEA's lead when it was 9-7. The first quarter ended with 17 apiece after Teddy Gibson, IGOKEA's newest signing, scored his first points of the game. IGOKEA played really well at the start of the second period, where it had scored the first 12 points, 6 of which came from Uroš Nikolić. Then Sasu Salin scored 4 consecutive points to close the gap to 6. But when Nemanja Gordic scored Igokea's only 3 of the night, the lead was again 10 points. The lead had grown to 13 when Boris Bakic was successful from the free throw line, but the birthday boy, Cody Augustus, who had celebrated his 26th birthday on the night, managed to hit a 3 just before the end of the half, in which Olympia was trailing the hosts for 10 points. Then Igokea was quickly in front by 14 when Nikolic scored twice from the free throw line, after which Olympia did manage to put together a solid scoring run. And the visitors got a slightly nearer to 8 points after Cedric Jackson scored 3 out of his 10 points of the evening. Then a 3 from Milan Dozet, and Igokea was again leading by 11, but Joksimovic managed to reply quickly to make it 50-44. That was followed by a 12-1 partial for the guests, who managed to equal the score when Gailius was successful. 53 apiece before the last 10 minutes of the game. Alen Omic was again jumping well in offense. Here's he scoring 2 out of his 10 of the night, but that was followed by a run of 8 points in a row from the best player of the evening, Uroš Nikolic, who managed 24 points and 7 rebounds in the end. Olympia was only able to score 8 points in the last quarter, and that was of course far from enough to reach that elusive first win of the season. It was Branko Jorovic who sealed the win of 13 points for Igokea, in spite of the fact he had only scored once from 3 in 13 attempts, but Olympia only had a 35% field goal efficiency, 17 turnovers and 12 missed free throws. So now let's take a look in the camp of last year's sensation of the league, who wasn't able to reproduce some of the excellent form from last year. There are many factors to that. There were people who were sure Igokea can do it all over again, but that turned out to be unrealistic. I'm not searching for alibis, Coach Bajic says, but it simply isn't realistic to expect from us to reach the heights of last year. Remember, our goal for last year was just to survive the year in the league. This season we have an even smaller budget, and the 2 Americans have left us. Also, the opponents are taking us much more seriously, plus we are more tired as we play in 2 fronts.
Sama činjenica da igramo na 2 fronta I da je tu puno trošenja kad je moj tim u pitanju.
Coach Bajic lost 3 marquee players from last year, Nebojša Joksimovic, Cliff Hammonds and Corsley Edwards. This year he wasn't so lucky with foreign players. 2 of them had already left Igokea, while at least Nemanja Gordic turned out to be a smart acquisition.
I don't
want to speak much about Nebojša Joksimovic, who is my dear friend, and I think all the best of him. We miss him sorely. He was our defensive stalwart. We must find replacements for him and for Hammonds, which will be tough, but we will eventually find someone.
Ove sezone, kažem, moramo da pronađemo takve igrače koji će da zamene Joksimovića I Hammondsa u odbrani. Mislim da će to biti težak zadatak, ali sigurno je da će neko od igrača da se nametne u toj njihovoj ulozi I, kažem, zamena će biti teška, ali jednostavno moramo da je nađemo.
With all these departures, there's much heavier load on Branko Jorovic, one of last year's best performers.
Pa dobro, odgovornost je sigurno veća.
I have a much bigger responsibility this year, and I'm not running away from it. We just need more time to gel together more. Basketball is a team sport, not everything relies on one player. With me it's the same. We have stayed from last season, try to give as much useful information to the ones that have arrived, so they get to know our system as quickly as possible. For the first time in its history, Igokea is playing in the Euro Cup, which means 2 games a week, and that is something the Bosnian champion still needs adjusting to. Our opponents are of good quality and have bigger budgets than us. We are playing in Europe, and that will certainly make things harder for us in the ABA League. But Igokea did gain a bigger fan base in the previous amazing season. Even though there are many Partizan and Crvena Zvezda supporters in Aleksandrovac, now there's a quality home team in town.
It's
a big thing for the younger population. They were coming to our hall and were seeing us beat the teams like Partizan and Crvena Zvezda, and that only made them support us in bigger numbers. It also helps that we play in the Eurocup, as the strong teams visit us every week, and that helps enhance the interest. We hope we will build upon the last season and prepare a nice story for them also in the next one.
Igramo taj Eurocup, dolaze jake ekipe u Laktaše da igraju i mislim da će interesovanje sigurno da raste. Sad kažem, sezona prošla je bila kao i snova, mi se nadamo da ćemo uopšte da priđemo svemu tome da bi napravili neku dobru i priču kakvu sad imamo za sljedeću sezonu.
Mega Vizura managed to win twice in a row after 3 consecutive defeats at the start of the season, and now it played host to MZT Skopje, who was forced to play without its suspended captain Todor Gečovski. The visitors were quick to hit a 3 through Gorjan Markovski, but that was equal through Nemanja Radovic. He reached 12 points and 8 rebounds in the end. Justin Reynolds scored 10 out of his 14 points already in the first period and made sure the Macedonians kept pace with the home team up till the 9th minute, when it was 22 apiece. But then Mega managed to score 9 unanswered points till the end of the quarter, and the lead was 31-22. The run was actually extended to 11-0 when Ratko Varda rounded it up. He was the home team's best scorer with 21 points. Mega Vizura's offensive was briefly stopped by Uroš Lučić when he put it to 33-26, but then a new one from the home team. After 5 points in a row from Varda, Mega was already leading by 13. And then by 17 when Marko Lukovic scored. He was able to put together a personal best in the league with 13 points. The same player set a final result of the first half. It was 56-37. Stefan Sinovic opened the second half with a 3-pointer, but then Milojevic's boys were simply too quick for the Macedonians, who made numerous fouls in trying to stop them, but in turn the home team was successful from the free throw line, and the lead had grown to 20 by the time Lukovic scored 2. Georgi Čekovski with his 3 points managed to reduce the gap slightly. He was the game's best scorer of the night with 22 points. But Mega Vizura again answered with the new highest lead of the game, plus 21, and even plus 23 at the end of the third period. When Kate Davies scored his only points of the game, the guests were trailing by 18 points, but then Mega again put together an 11-0 run, after which the lead had grown to enormous 29 points just 3 minutes before the end of the game. Everything was of course decided. The home team even managed to break a 100-point barrier, secured by Nemanja Krstić, in the end the second best scorer of Mega with 15 points. Third win in a row for a team from Smederevo with a record 31 assists and 57% efficiency from field goals, plus a 4th defeat for Skopje. Krka had already managed to beat Partizan, Igokea and Budućnost in front of their own crowd, and now it played host to a much weaker Zadar team. Marko Ramljak opened the proceedings for the visitors, and for the home team it was young Tomaž Boučina, who spent the first 7 minutes of the game on court, reaching 6 points, which was more than his tally from his first 4 games combined. Then 7 consecutive points for Zadar, who took the lead by 9-5. But then Krka woke up, and by the time Zvonko Buljan scored 2 from his 14 altogether, the home team was already in front by 6. 24-20 was the result of the first quarter. It was 32-30 when Erion Kastrati scored, but then followed a couple of scoreless minutes for Krka, which the visitors took good advantage of and reached their highest lead of 6. But then 7 points from Edo Muric secured the lead, was again handed over to the home team, albeit but just 2 points. 44 apiece after the first 20 minutes of play, in which Krka wasn't doing so well in defense. But the home team did play better in the beginning of the second half. It had reached a lead of 7 points when Klobuchar scored nicely from the counter-attack. When Buljan scored, Krka was 9 points to the good, but then it had all stopped again from the Slovenians. Zadar was getting back in the game, firstly through Andrew Lawrence, and managed to score the last 5 points of the quarter, which ended with Krka being just 4 points in front. The visitors extended that run well into the last period and with 12 consecutive points took the lead through unstoppable Marko Šutalo. He was the game's leading scorer with 26 points when he was abruptly fouled out 5.5 minutes before the end of the game. It seemed Krka would have an easier job after that when it retook the lead by 3 points just 3 minutes before the end through Zvonko Buljan, but then inexplicably eased off. Less than a minute before the end, the guests again took the lead through Marko Ramljak, but that was again shifted to Krka's favor when Muric stole the ball. Zadar had the opportunity to hold the ball almost to the end, which they put to good use as Marko Car found Kraljevic, who was able to score and put the guests into the lead just 3 seconds from time, which they were able to hold on to and reach their first away win of the season. Two champions of their own national championships crossed swords in front of a crowd of 6,000 in Belgrade. Partizan without Terence Kinsey, who had fallen ill, and with a still slightly injured Leo Westermann. It started well, scoring almost immediately after the first jump, and for Cibona it was Dario Šarić. He had only 7 points in the end, by far his lowest tally of the season. That was followed by a 10-2 partial for the home team, rounded up by Geoffrey Lauvergne with a 3, and the lead was 14-5. Andrija Žižić was keeping the visitors alive. He scored 8 points in the first quarter, which was eventually won by Partizan with 20-15. Then at the beginning of the second period, 8 consecutive points from Matt Janning at the start, and Cibona closed the gap to just a point. Then 2 consecutive 3-pointers from Dragan Milosavljevic. He had 21 points in the end, and Partizan was leading by 6. The end result of the half was 38-30, and it was set by the Frenchman Lauvergne, while Cibona had only 4 scorers in its ranks. But the team from Zagreb did open the second half well, with Marin Rozic scoring the first 5 points for Cibona, but that was replied with Partizan's 7 in a row and a first lead of 10 for the home team, when Lauvergne was again hard to stop. The black and white from Belgrade were 11 in front when Jan Bogdanovic hit his first 3 of the night, but then Daryl Strawberry scored 8 in a row out of his 20 points of the night, and Cibona closed the gap to 7. That was then reduced to 4 when Šarić scored his only points of the half. When Bogdanovic scored for the home team, they were 5 points in front after 30 minutes of play. When the same player hit his second 3-pointer, Partizan was again leading by 11, but then a reply from Žižić, who had scored 8 out of his 21 in the last quarter to keep the guests' hopes alive. But it was Cibona's average defense that didn't allow for the visitors to stage a complete comeback. Lauvergne was unstoppable at the end of the game, scoring 5 out of Partizan's 6 to set the final result of the game 80-79. 71. A fifth win for the defending champion and the third loss for Cibona this year, despite being well efficient from the three-point line. 4,500 people turned out in Morača Hall to see their team meet Crvena Zvezda, who hadn't won in Montenegro for 8 years. The guests were the first ones to score through DeMarcus Nelson, and for the home team it was Suat Šehović with 3. Crvena Zvezda managed to reach the lead of 5 through Blake Shield, but that was quickly cancelled through William Coleman. The team from Belgrade did have the upper hand slightly in the first period. First they led by 4 when Marko Simonovic was successful, and they finished 2 points in front at the end of the first 10 minutes of play. Zvezda was still leading by 2 when the tallest player of the league, Boban Marjanovic, scored 3 times in a row, but the first lead of the quarter for Budućnost was secured by an ex-Zvezda player, Čedomir Vitkovac. It was 28-26 at the time. Aleksa Popovic set the final result of the not really convincing half, which ended with 32-31. The highest lead of the game of 5 for the home team was set by Aleksandar Čapin with his second three-pointer of the night. Zvezda needed more than 3 minutes to get started in the third period. Here is Raško Katic correcting the missed shot from Jaka Blažić to make it 37-33. Then Budućnost hit another 3 to equal its highest lead thus far. The teams still both performed below par. It was 47-42 after 30 minutes of play. After Čapin had scored another 3, Zvezda scored the next 5 points and took the lead for the first time in the last quarter, when Boban Marjanovic scored 2 out of his 13 of the evening. Branko Lazic then stole the ball and scored 4.5 minutes before the end to give his team the lead of 5. By that time the guests were in the middle of an 11-2 partial. But Budućnost was able to catch the visitors in time, 2 minutes and 41 seconds before the end, Šehović equaling with a 3. And 1 minute and 11 seconds before time, Jalil Akindele scored to put the home team in front for 2. That was raised to 3 points when Čapin was only half successful from the free throw line. 13 seconds from time, Blažić scored both free throws to make it 61-60, and in the other end, Suat Šehović, by that time the game's leading scorer, missed both of his, but then managed to grab his ball, and after a foul he was returned to the free throw line. This time he managed to score once, which meant Zvezda could still win the game or at least get to overtime in the remaining 10 seconds, but Jaka Blažić missed a crucial shot and Budućnost was able to celebrate its 4th win of the season. So, Szolnok was able to beat Radnički with its impressive offensive skills. No trouble for Cedevita and Mega Vizura. The closest game was in Novo Mesto, with Krka unexpectedly surrendering to Zadar. Big wins for Partizan and Budućnost. There's a new leader in the standings, and it's the defending champion with the same number of wins as Cedevita. Zvezda dropped to 3rd, while there's heavy traffic in the middle of the table. Olimpija still the only team without a win. The most valuable player of the 6th round is the American Willie Warren, who managed to reach the highest playing index of the season, a remarkable score of 50 index points, which he had reached by scoring 30 in 37 minutes of play. He also added 7 rebounds, 10 assists and 2 steals to that tally. With that achievement, Warren is also the best-rated player of the league, overtaking Muftau Yaru. So here are the best 5 actions of the round. At number 5, a nice steal by Jaka Klobuchar and a very nice finish in the counter-attack. At number 4, it's Peter Laurent with this nice conclusion and a slam dunk. His teammate in number 3, Willie Warren, dunking. At number 2, a very nice alley-oop from Nemanja Dangubic. And the most important action of the round, if not the best, Filip Kraljevic securing a first and vital away win of the season for Zadar. He was also able to block the last shot from Krka, just to make things sure that Zadar did reach his first away win. So here are the fixtures of the 7th round. Again, a couple of intriguing duels, with definitely the most interesting one being played on Sunday, where Crvena Zvezda will try to beat Cedevita at home. This is all for now. Join us again next week for the new ABBA Magazine show. Goodbye.